Here's a quiet memories group because there's a K-State KU basketball game probably going on right in the middle of our memories group. Next time we'll have to tell them to plan their game a little different. So we're here to gather some stories of country schools and hear and see, get ready for our display change that will come in about 2 weeks. So whatever stories you can tell us about country schools will be helpful. Pat, do you have any homework? Any up-to-date stuff? No? Okay. And Nancy, who's been gallivanting around, does she have any? No? On the back table, we have a few books that we've got for country schools. We have some pictures. One is of, well, we've got the Barrett School of Painting. Nancy, I don't know, how did that come to be here?
Well, Sister Judy can tell you about that.
Okay,
I think
Sister
it was-
Judy.
I think it was in the either 70s or 80s. We'd gone to Frankfurt, and of course, I love libraries, so we had gone into the library, and June Warren was the librarian's name, and she had done this painting, and then another one of the round barn,
Stump barn.
stump barn. And I purchased these, and yeah.
Oh, my.
I love it.
Well, I know that those, we have kept in contact with the Jones
Number one.
family.
Oh.
And it is the number one. And in fact, they
That's
still
wonderful.
have, did you get to go, you didn't get to, you've not been out there?
Nancy and I gone to the
Yeah.
outside quite a few years ago,
Yeah,
but then
it
the
still
Tom.
stays
But never on the inside.
So you got to see the,
I didn't know if I was standing.
the curtain that's got all the advertisements and stuff on it. It's still there. And
used to go
when
by.
Tom put a picture of the curtain that's in front of their stage in that school on his website, and a lot of people wanted to know about that curtain. And Tom was like trying to protect it and not let people know because that's priceless to have that curtain. But it's sad to see it up there and it's just deteriorating because you can see where there's a hole in the roof
On the roof and
that's
moisture's just got a
Oh, yeah.
stripe right there.
washing it away.
Yeah, I can remember going by that schoolhouse years and years and years ago, in the 30s. The thing was there. We always knew we were close to Frankfurt when we got to that school.
Pleasant Hill, had a Irving address?
We have a couple of lists of schools.
Another one?
No, well, if you'd like to see the list, did you get one? Okay, of who they were. So, I know that, Helen, you have, what country school did you go to?
55.
Okay, so if we go to 55,
Prairie Ridge.
Prairie Ridge,
Rapid Township.
there's a
First
map.
bottom, first bottom.
So did you go like all 8 years?
Yeah, and I got all my 8th grade cards for my whole 8 years.
Oh, my.
I have two somewhere, mine from Gifford, but I
Did
can't
you have
find
the
today.
same teacher the whole time?
Oh, no, I had different teachers, but I got all of my 8. I didn't know I had all of them. But anyway, I found all 8 of them this morning.
She must have been a good student, or she wouldn't have brought
That's
it.
right.
And then I found the two, grade cards that I got from Paul Kirkpatrick.
Oh, yeah.
You remember him?
He
He
was
was
a
a county superintendent. And see, then we always got the Marshall County diploma grades. And then this is the invitation to the graduation. It's on the card.
Don't tear it, don't tear it.
This is, and it's signed by Paul Kirkpatrick, May of 11th, 1935.
Oh, wow.
And then I also have, well, these here are my perfect attendance certificates. I got more at home. And then this is when I graduated from the 8th grade.
Wow,
And
look
this
at
is
that.
signed by Paul Kirkpatrick.
That's beautiful.
I didn't know I had
That's
it.
very good.
I
And how
have
far
them
away did you
outside.
live from the school?
Half a mile.
Half a mile. So did you walk every day?
We walked most of the time, but when the weather was bad, when we had a lot of snow on the ground, we had high drifts, and they were about the same height as the fences. My dad would he'd hitch the horses up to the wagon and put straw on the back end and cover us up, and he would take us.
Now, would he wait there for you?
Oh,
or
no,
come
no,
back home and
he'd
then
come-
come back and
yeah.
get you? Now, how would school ever be closed?
No, we most practically always had school.
Always had school?
But in later years, Mary Alice Shenquist, there were several teachers that got stranded out there in snow. We used to have a lot of snow out there.
So the teacher lived close by then?
Well, no, she came from Blue Rapids and she had to stay out in the country because she couldn't get home. I remember once she stayed there a whole week. out
At
in
the
country.
school,
At
or-
out with the people who lived out in that area.
Oh, I bet those kids were nervous.
Yeah, well, she couldn't get home, so she just had to stay with the people who had kids in school.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think Mary Alice Youngquist probably stayed the longest of any of them.
So can you name your the teachers you had?
Yeah,
during
sure.
that time? Do I
Sure can. My goodness. I couldn't believe I had all of them. I'll have to see which one this starts out with. Let's see, the first or the eighth. Oh, this is my first. And my first grade teacher was Mila Pishney, who is an aunt of Jan Swartz's.
Okay.
And she was a sister to Ed Pishney and all the Pishneys. Big family of Pishneys.
Uh-huh.
But she was my first teacher, and she was a good one. And she just died about a couple of
Yeah,
years
it's
ago.
not been long.
But she
Yeah,
lived
we're
a
on the
long
hunt
time.
for
Yeah.
school teachers.
And let's see here. My second grade teacher was her too. She was.
Okay.
This was in 1929 that she signed it.
Was she married?
Do you
Not that
remember? No, she married. When did she get married? She never got
Her
married.
Pishney was her maiden name.
maiden- she never-
I had heard a
married.
story that they didn't like married teachers.
I don't
I
think
don't
she
think
got
was.
married.
None of mine
They were,
I don't think she ever got married.
yeah, that's what I had heard, is they didn't hire married women.
until the war started, and then they got so scarce they had to take whoever they could get.
And I'll tell you what, this one was a special teacher, and that was Joseph B. Hawley. You remember Joe Hawley, Edwin Hawley's brother? And this man was in the war, and he was a prisoner of war. And he spent a lot of time over in Europe. I don't remember if it was Germany or where. But anyway, he was a prisoner of war. And then he came home and he taught. And I was his
That was
favorite.
World War One.
World
He was
War I. And I was his favorite because he always liked me. So at Christmas time, he gave me a special necklace. And I remember it made the kids mad because I got this necklace from
Oh, I
him.
bet.
But he was really, just look at his writing.
Uh-huh, oh, yeah.
But he was special. He was a good guy. That was Joseph Hawley.
Did he
And Esther Katapish. Huh?
You're not biased saying that just because they gave you a necklace.
Oh, it was a beautiful necklace. I probably got it someplace yet.
Real quick question about that, back to the third grade before you go
Yeah,
on.
that's it.
Is that when you learned like your times tables and things like that?
Oh, I
then?
can't remember that.
Okay.
I can't
I think
remember.
about then, yeah.
Maxine could tell you. I can't. And then in the fourth grade, Esther Katapish was my,
That was
Teacher.
Esther Brenner
and that was
later.
Esther Brenner.
Okay.
And she's got a boy. Let's see, where's he at? Anyway, he's a doctor. And then she has a daughter who's in Leavenworth,
I
a
don't know
music
what she-
teacher. And then she has a daughter in Scandia, June.
Yeah.
So this is Esther Brenner. Used to be Esther Katapish. And then this was Una Irwin. She was from Waterville. Can I tell a story about her? Okay, she went with Edwin Katapish. You remember Edwin Katapish? And they were going to get married. And so he went to Kansas City and bought a whole lot of furniture. And on his way home, he stopped at the schoolhouse and he knocked at the door and she went out and they went out on the porch and talked. And when she came back in, we found out later that she had told him, after he had all that load of new furniture, that she wasn't going to marry him.
Oh my.
Dear John.
So she
Wagon load
was
of
something else.
goodies.
I'll never forget her. I'll never forget her.
Oh.
You remember, don't
Oh,
you?
yeah, I remember.
Well, now, she's
for
related
sure.
to some of the
Buyer's remorse.
McNairys or something. Did she marry a McNary or?
No, Shirk.
She married a Shirk, yeah.
Lester Shirk.
Lester Shirk, that's who she married, Lester Shirk.
And she probably told Lester about that whole incident years later. If
I don't know, but I tell you, Edwin Katapish really had a broken heart.
I bet.
I would think.
And this is Una Irwin too.
Especially his pocketbook.
Yeah, oh, I remember them. And this one was Vivian Hayes.
Yeah.
And her,
Wendell Hayes is
yeah, Wendell Hayes' wife,
Sister.
sister. And then Ray Hayes was her
Brother.
husband's brother. And his wife just died. She was down here at the, what was her name?
Maxine.
Maxine Hayes, yeah. She just died
Very
not
well.
too long ago. That was Vivian Hayes, and she was a good teacher. They were all good teachers.
I think they were involved with the Washington newspaper.
Yeah, you're right, they were.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the
He had the.
last one.
The
Uh-huh.
water bill went for a while.
And this one is Vivian Hayes too, for my 8th grade.
8th grade. Now, how many kids were in your 8th grade class with you?
I think only 3 or, it's only 2 or 3.
And boys and girls, or
Boys and girls.
boys
yeah.
and girls?
Were the classes all in one room, or?
Oh, yeah. We just had one room.
Do you have,
Maxine just had one room too.
So did I.
And when you went to class, where there was a bench up in front, and you went and
With
sit
the
on that bench.
recitations.
Your recitation,
Yeah.
any stories you want to share about there?
Oh, I know, we had, Melton Holmes was in my class. His wife is still at the nursing home at Marysville.
Mm-hmm.
And Fanny Green, she died, she was in my class.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was it, the 3 of us.
And you always got along? What happens if, did you all play very well together?
Oh, yeah, we had a lot of fun. We always got along,
Okay.
yeah. I have to tell you a funny story. You know Kenneth Regal, of course.
Yes.
He had a sister by the name of Gladys who went to school with us. And she wasn't in my class, but we always went to the outdoor toilet together. And I can remember she always wore a lot of makeup. Maybe I told you about Pat. And she used to just wear makeup. She was just covered with makeup. And she always told us that she was going to be a movie star.
Turned out being a nun.
And she ended up being a nun.
Oh, that's the one that has a Teresa. Mother Teresa.
Teresa.
Oh.
But she just had makeup on. She just, the rouge and lipstick. She was just
Oh.
Darn
covered.
it, that was way
She
ahead
got
of
out of
her
her system, I guess.
So, yeah, it was we had a lot of fun. And I remember one time it was too cold to go outdoors and use the bathroom, and Melton Holmes found a coal bucket in the basement. I'll never forget that. And then I remember Edwin Scala coming to school one day, and he just stunk like skunk. He was just covered with skunk. And the teacher wanted to know who it was, and nobody would say anything. So finally she went to each desk.
time.
And she came to Edwin. She said, "You're the one. Get up and go home." So he went home, and his mother had to bury his clothes. He stunk so bad. I remember she buried his clothes.
Trapping.
You'd been trapping him, but he wasn't going to admit it. I guess that's enough.
It's probably hard to get.
We had a lot of fun.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah.
Listening to the stories about country schools and how, Maxine was sharing with me about how she was able to learn along with the other older kids because of the recitations and stuff that
By
took
the
her.
time
You
you
can
got
listen
clear
in.
up at the top, you knew it all, because
Yeah.
you heard it year after year.
Yeah, you bet.
So what school number did you go to?
37.
37, Game Fork. And Game Fork is still,
The building
It's
is in
still
Waterville,
in
they use it
Waterville.
as their scouts place over there.
and you brought a picture of
Yeah, there's
Game Fork.
pictures. And one of the kids, I don't remember who it was, anyhow, there's a white horse, they rode to school on a white horse.
And I know that Mark Lamoureux was in on Saturday, and he shared that he has rebuilt the cupola that's on top
Cupola.
and
Oh,
put
did
it on.
they do that too?
and put it
Because
on
it
top
wasn't
in there.
over there, I know.
So he's
Good.
thought about that.
Where was this located?
3 miles south of Blue Rapids,
County
Road.
And can you name off your teachers that you
Oh,
had?
yeah. My first grade and second grade teacher was Olive Ashton, who was the daughter of the guy that had the little log cabin filling station, down
Oh,
there.
okay.
And my third, fourth, and fifth grade teacher was Bessie Arnold. And my,
Is that Bessie Lindblom?
no,
No, okay.
Bessie Sedovich, she lived over in the Frankfurt area after that. And my, that's five, my sixth grade teacher was Juanita Hill. She was a sister of Ken Hill here in town, but she came from over Randolph, Riley, over in that way. And then I went to town school in my 7th and 8th grade year.
Had you moved to town? Is
No, my mom wanted me to get involved in music and band, and so I went to school in town. Come in scared to death, but I got along real good.
that- Same thing about no schools were closed because of the weather? or-
Never.
Where
Her
else?
dad would walk to, like her dad would walk to school with me,
Uh-huh. And how far was that?
just a little bit over half a mile.
Did you have competition ball games and
We didn't.
music or anything?
Now, I've seen a picture of you in the back of a truck.
Here, okay.
That was the, yeah, that's
Here, I'll
the,
pass this around, that's
the
it.
Texaco truck that
Uh-huh.
her dad had. And it was the Marshall County Fair. And we took first prize that year because our school was game fork, so we had a skunk for the game and a pitchfork for the fork.
And tell them what country schools were the only ones that were eligible to.
Yeah, the town schools didn't
Yeah.
march in the parade, and I used to feel so embarrassed doing that. And then I got up older and come to town school and found out they all envied us because we got to march in the parade.
So then you'd walk around the racetrack and then have a float or a, okay.
Right there. Let's see. Right there, that's the littlest one, I'm in the first grade.
But you didn't go around the square at that point in
No,
time?
just around the racetrack down at the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Any stories to tell us? Nobody dipped your hair in inkwells or anything like that?
I don't think so.
My dad tells a story that he did that, but he's
We
not here to.
sometimes brought, in a real cold time, we had this big old pot-bellied stove in the middle of the room. The teacher had to put coal in to keep it going, and it had a flat spot on the top, and she'd keep a pan of water there, and we'd put our jars of soup in there in the morning, and then by noon they'd be nice and hot for us to eat soup.
I was gonna ask you about hot lunches and what you had to bring.
And you ask about how many in your class. It was just me.
The whole, up
I
till
was the
sixth
whole
grade?
first class, all the way up to sixth grade. So you can imagine coming into town school where there was probably 30 kids or so.
She was at the top of her class.
Yes.
I was the best and the worst.
I don't remember you was the only one in your class.
Yep.
Did you end up having to like go with the class above you more so than to do different things then, since there was only one? No?
No, they taught the first grade and the second and third and all the grades. I wasn't with anybody else but just me.
Mm-hmm.
And all the kids sat there and listened to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have?
done in one day?
They say, look at the teachers now. It's just unbelievable to think that they could teach 8 grades those days, and now they can't even
And
teach one.
then they had to
Yeah,
clean the
very true,
school
very
up.
true.
After school, they had to clean the school up. They had to bring in the cobs and the coal for the
Yeah.
next morning. They had to pump water out and bring a bucket of it in. They just did everything.
They probably weren't very well paid.
No, about $30 probably.
Yeah, about $30 a month.
Now, did the teacher stay with your family? Does it? Or-
Yeah,
It's
let's
like
see.
there was somebody on
No,
your dad's
Juanita
on the
Hill
school
did.
board?
Didn't want either?
My first grade teacher did some in the wintertime.
Okay.
She stayed with us. But outside of that, we had a teacher, but, Alta.
Smirching.
But I wasn't in school then, I was in town.
I've seen that.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
No.
well, they picked, my mother was teaching school out there. My mother taught out there in later years
Uh-huh.
in the game
How did he get rescued? Do you know the story of how Game Fork got rescued to be put over
No,
into
I know, first
Waterville?
thing I knew that Waterville had bought it for the scout cabin and moved it away. And then
So-
Jack and Paul Rundis and
Mrs.
Jim
Soul.
Strader
Jim Strader
put up a sign.
put up a
the
sign there where it
memorial.
was a Game Fork school, like a
a
tombstone.
memorial out there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Mrs. Soul over at Waterville?
Who- Yeah,
Mrs.
she
Soul.
bought it, didn't she?
She bought it and
And
it
it
was in
sit
the,
there in the alley for
behind,
years.
behind your house over there at Waterville.
And they finally bought it from her to put the,
Yeah,
It was pretty well intact, one of the few left that were intact around the country.
yeah.
Pretty
Being
pretty
a
good shape,
wooden
yeah.
one.
and my
She
dad
was-
was on the school, but I don't know whether he was on the school board when they closed the school or not. I kinda think he was, because they had an auction and he bought a few things from the school, but they were just like those old world books, that were out of date.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that he bought anything that was particularly,
So do you think the rural schools, they started busing the kids? Is that why rural schools just got abandoned? Is because of the busing?
Well, they seem to, I don't know.
Because they
I
well,
started-
there were
Why did
fewer
they-
and fewer farm families, and the schools got down to just, like maybe 5 or 6 in
Okay.
the whole school.
Okay.
In
And
fact,
it just
some-
wasn't
yeah.
feasible
The attendance,
economically
yeah,
to
was
do that.
the
So
demise.
they-
That was the whole thing, and they needed kids in town in order to make their.
And one by
schools
one,
work.
a school would close and the kids would go, and next year there'd be a couple more schools closed and the kids would go to their nearest town. And
Uh-huh, okay. So then that's when they provided transportation, yeah.
Somebody was in the other day and was talking about politics, and they were talking, and I'm thinking it was that time where one of the guys running for an office, I think it was Mark Lamro, brought up the story that the one guy got criticized because he closed like 100 and some odd different schools, but they were country schools with 2 or 3, 5 people in them, but it looked really bad on him.
Alf Landon.
What was his name?
Alf Landon.
Alf Land.
When
oh, he was governor, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Heard that story then.
Well, there was a lot of people upset when they moved to town, they had to go to town.
Judy, do you have a country school story?
Well, I do, I'm first grade, but this was, of course, in Colorado.
Yes.
Be north and a little bit east of Boulder, Colorado, called Bader School,
Mm-hmm.
one-room schoolhouse. We remember the stage where we would do our little plays.
Oh, yeah, we had our Christmas programs, yeah.
Mhm. And then when there were 4, I think, schools consolidated, and so they gone to the largest school in the district. And then at that point in time, we had all of our programs at the Grange, our graduation, our Christmas programs. First grade was in a one-room school.
And you remember your teacher's name?
Mrs. Stratton.
And how many kids were in your class?
In my class were 2.
2.
Mhm.
A little boy or a little girl?
A little
with your
girl.
kids?
A little
Okay,
girl,
2
yes.
little girls,
Yeah,
first
2 little
grade.
girls, yes.
We used to have Christmas programs
Oh,
too. And they'd have the big old hot stove, you can imagine, going on a great big Christmas tree that they brought in, but luckily we never had any
Never
problems.
burn it down or anything?
Didn't burn
huh?
anything down.
Well, I'll have to tell you a Christmas story. We used to always have Christmas programs at night, and then one time we had it in the afternoon. And my dad always played Santa Claus, and he always borrowed a real long fur coat from our neighbor that would cover his overalls, just almost to his ankles. And anyway, he was there, Santa Claus was there, and distributed the gifts and everything, you know, and everything went great. Of course, everybody wanted to see Santa Claus leave, so we all run to the window to see Santa Claus leave, and we were all waving at him, and it was windy, and the wind took his coat and blew his coat open. We saw his overalls, so we knew Santa Claus. And that was it, the Santa Claus for me.
So you had no idea that was?
No,
Oh.
never did. It really spoiled it for him too, but he felt bad about it.
And we had kerosene lamps, that was our lighting system.
About 3 of them
Oh, yeah.
hanging from the ceiling.
No, ours, we had
The
little
fire
brackets on the
marshals would
side
have
of
a
it.
field day with that today, wouldn't they?
Did you learn Bible verses in school or have a church in your
We had a big old upright piano. I think every one of our teachers played, and we'd sing, and that was our music. And then we had art. We'd draw pictures on a piece of colored paper.
Betty, do you have a story?
Hi,
No,
Jerry.
you went to.
I bet Judy's got more.
You got more?
No, I don't.
No?
No,
Okay.
oh, no.
Got it on your
Christmas,
school.
Christmas.
Well, I was just wondering if you'd know if you would have a picture of when you were sat down, you know, of where I think Dr. Benson there used to be a house up in there, and I tried to get it. I've been to the courthouse and everything there. I can't seem to find it, and I just thought maybe somebody had a picture of it. But
Well, I visited one, but I went to a regular school in Arizona.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, one time I visited one way out in the country, and there was 3 different classes in the one room.
And that was in Arizona?
Yes, it was out in the country.
Uh-huh.
Where'd you go to the restroom?
And I don't remember who the teacher
Oh.
was or nothing.
Mhm.
So I was only there one time, and that was all.
Mhm.
Then I graduated from Arizona, and before you could go to high school, you had to graduate in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
That's in Arizona. I don't know how it is here.
Now,
Yeah.
that's a good question that brings to my mind is,
That's
was
why
there a
they-
special test you had to pass?
Which you
You
had
bet.
today.
You bet.
You
Yeah,
did
county exams, in the 7th and 8th grade.
That's why I showed you the card, or did you see
Uh-huh.
it?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet, but
Yeah, I had, it was a card with it.
Okay. And everybody, I know that I was stressing when I went to school in California that you had to pass that test before you could go on.
Well, when I left Arizona, it wasn't my idea, of course, but anyway, Mom and Dad was talking to them going to California. And get rich, do this, do that.
About what time frame are we talking about then? Was that 40, mid-40s?
No, it was, let's see, 50 something, 53, 54, something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, went to California. Okay, I started high school there. After leaving the high school in Arizona, I just, like I said, graduated from 8th grade and went started 9th grade high school. Okay, I went to high school in California, and they had things that I already went through in the 7th and 8th grade in Arizona. And I wasn't going to go through it twice, so I just quit. I wasn't about to go through it twice,
Yeah.
so I flat quit. And
California schools are that much behind, evidently.
And Betty, you went to a country school?
Went to a country school in Arvada, Colorado called Denver View.
Oh my, that would have been a country school out there then, because now it's just all.
Yeah, all the way to grade. But I went to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And there were too many of us when I graduated. There were 3 of us. 2 of them were male. So teacher chose me for valedictorian. And when I try and think real hard, I go blank. Luckily, I had taken the things home that I wanted to remember, and I remembered it okay and said it, but you couldn't ask me what I said. I was blank. Anyhow, we had a good time in school there. I went from Denver school in the 5th grade. We moved out then to Arvada. And then when we first went there, my brother and sister and I were all dark skinned because we're ivory skinned. And the classes thought we were Mexican, and everybody gave us the cold shoulder. They didn't want anything to do with us. So it took us a while. We got used to them, played with them and everything, and soon they warmed up to us. And by the time we left, we were some of their favorite pupils. But we had a good time. We played competition ball games. I got to be on the ball game because there weren't that many males. And we had district music festivals and things like that.
What instrument did you play?
I didn't play any, we just sang.
Sing? Yeah. Sounds like a good time.
So we had a really good grade school. I had Mrs. Purdy all 3 years. After I had graduated from there, she had married, I think, the mayor or governor of Colorado.
Oh my.
She was a very nice looking lady, little heavy, but then we liked to play fox and geese out in the snow. Yes, we walked to school a lot of times. We had a couple miles to go.
Oh my goodness.
But we could go the railroad tracks or streetcar tracks. So we took the streetcars sometimes.
Wow. Arvada, Colorado, country schools. What? They wouldn't believe us if we told them that today. I know they would be laughing at us.
Remember something Helen mentioned, the outdoor toilets. If you put one finger up, sometimes the teacher would just kind of ignore you for a while. You put 2 up, she lets you go right down.
That's right. Forgot about that.
Very true, very true. Number 2 would be perfect.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Well, in
You got it in
Barrett,
there.
they have the outdoor toilets are inside.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Barrett, they have the outdoor toilets are inside.
Ours were
that?
Would
outside,
they be
way
outdoor?
down behind the coal
I think
shed.
outdoors there is.
Because the hole's right there.
Okay.
I didn't mean to get too descriptive, but,
I see what you mean.
and you could either go up and ring the bell or go to the bathroom. And they did have a boys and a girls.
Yeah, we did too.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Cedar situation, but hopefully it went. Well, you said that you would go with your friend though, so would she wait outside?
Oh, yeah. We had kind of like a little, what I want
Little
to say.
shed around the,
Yeah, shed,
protection
yeah.
around the little
Protection
fence.
around. So they'd stand outside and wait.
Yeah.
But nobody could see in when you
No,
went in.
no.
Yeah.
Do you have a phone book laying by the seat?
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a room by catalog.
Catalog.
A lot of catalogs. We saved all those old catalogs.
Jack, and what grades did you go to country school?
All 8. And I started out in the first grade, and Mrs. Davis was my teacher. There were 18 kids in the school.
First grade of the whole
The
school?
whole school, we had 3 in the first grade. The Home family who was living in this cabin over
Uh-huh.
here, and they moved down there from the cabin. And there was a big family there, and there was a Blazer family, that was a big family. And they were there for 2 years. The second year was a lady by the name of Booker, Grace Booker. She had never taught before, and the kids were, some of them pretty naughty, and she'd cry all day long. And finally the school board, not me, I wasn't naughty.
Yeah, you just showed me the corner you hung out in.
But anyway, they finally, school board met and said, told her anybody that was got out of line and the kids, send them home. First one that got out of line was the school board son. And to send him home, and boy, did he get mad. She almost quit. I didn't know what we were going to do. Then I had, from the 3rd through the 8th grade, I had the same teacher, Lorraine Peterson, Bergman, and a super teacher, very dedicated person. And she did something that you wouldn't allow nowadays. When we first got in, we'd get in the line. He'd say, get in line, line according to our desks, of course. March, moved in and got by our seats, and then we gave the flag salute, and then prayed the Lord's Prayer, which I thought was pretty nice. So a lot of those kids would never have learned that if it had been for her. And I thought that, so in other words, she did a pretty good job. I thought it was helping there. I lived about 3/4 of a mile across Snowfly, I always say, or as a crow flies, and uphill both ways.
Sure.
But anyway, when I was 6th grade, we were off of the beaten path our high school was, so that's when I started making money, working out. I got the whole schools would be blocked, the road would be blocked, so the teacher couldn't get there. So every little area had a bunch of people that scooped snow to get there. The teacher could get there. I got 25 cents an hour, whether I was worth it or not.
Wow.
And by golly, I'll tell you, getting that $2 check for a day was just, I could hardly wait. But
Burning a hole in your pocket,
yeah.
huh?
Oh yeah, and we played fox and geese, like you said. Pump, pull away. Did you ever remember that? And hand you over to the schoolhouse. And,
How does pump, pull away go? How do you play that?
you'd have somebody in the middle of it, of course, and then there'd be people on both sides lined up, and they ran across, and you had certain boundaries, of course. You couldn't get out of that boundary. And then if she tagged you, if the person out in the middle tagged you, then you had to be out here with her and catching everybody. They say pump, pull away. If you don't get away, we'll pull you away. So you couldn't stay on the fence all the time. But I was trying to think. The
Red
teacher.
Red Rover?
Yeah.
Did you play that?
I never did that.
Yeah, we
No, we
did.
played a lot of baseball a little later. That's my first went down to play baseball.
Yeah,
I remember that.
But the one time I must have been about the 3rd grade. We were practicing for one of those wonderful programs that we had about 3 times a year. We put up curtains and everything, boy. I mean, it was a big production. And the teacher decided to turn us loose and go out and run around the schoolhouse a couple times, get some breath, get some fresh air. But she forgot one very important thing. We should have all run the same way. I hit a guy, a little kid, and my nose broke my nose. And it twisted clear off to the side. And the teacher said it, boy. This Lorraine Peterson said it, and Mom took me to a doctor, a country doctor out at Parallel at southwest of here. Anyway, he put a bandage on it so big that I could only see over it when we got back to school. And the teacher said, "You can't have that, or you got to run the program tonight." So they put a piece of tape across it. That's the way it is right now. She said it just like it is.
Good job, didn't they?
Yeah. But anyway, it bled terrible for a little bit, but then it scared me. But anyway, then later, my mother was the treasurer of the school, and once a month the teacher would come to our house, pick up her check, and boy, was I a big shot, because the teacher came to my house, and once in a while we'd have supper at our house. That was a big shot then. And a number of years ago, Marysville found out what my age was, and they asked me to come up and talk about the Depression years.
Mm-hmm.
And I had school. My mother always took. It was the fourth grade. They wanted me to come up and talk to. My mom always took the picture of all the classes, and she had this one year, the fourth grade. I had 5 kids in the school, and I passed that around, and a little girl said, "Well, who was your superintendent?" I said, "The teacher was the teacher, the janitor, the superintendent, and the principal with $40 a month." And then I had another picture of myself. I was a little bit older. I was feeding 2 baby pigs. They had nothing to do with school, but I was a little older then, and I passed that around. I was feeding 2 baby pigs with a bottle. You've all seen a bottle, baby pig. And one little boy said, "Well, why didn't the mama pig take care of him?" I said, "Well, she didn't have enough place settings."
They wouldn't have known that.
The teacher smiled, but the kids, I don't know if they caught it or not. But I think that's about all. I can't think of anything else.
When he talked about the Larkspur and, you know, and the pipes, it reminded me of our ritual we went through at recess, when it was time for recess, you know. Everybody get in position,
Yep.
turn,
Stand.
stand, pass. Then we just all tear out.
Same thing.
Every day, every time.
Every time. Oh, the last recess, in the wintertime, there'd be a 5-minute bell. You had 10 minutes, you had 15 minutes, you had 10 minutes to play, and then you had 5 minutes to get ready to get back in school. We'd all run to the woodshed and pick up chunks of wood and sometimes some cobs and take it in for the next morning when the teacher would start the fire. That's the way it worked.
That was child labor, see, that was,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
Now, Nancy, did you go to a country school?
Yes. It was the Consolidated, Altona Consolidated out there in Colorado. And what I remember is like the ash pit. Does anybody know what an ash pit is? It was a dome-shaped or honeycomb
Where you dump
shaped.
where you dump
Where
the
you dump-
ashes out of the stove,
That's
yeah.
correct. And then you would also could burn papers and the trash and stuff, yeah. That was one of my favorite spots because a friend and I can remember, when we talked our teacher into letting us bring boxes of Jell-O to school, and then we couldn't wait to get out there because we hid behind this ash pit so nobody else could see us eating this Jell-O with our fingers. Of course, we had a red finger, red tongue, whatever else.
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew. And we played a lot of softball with other, there was what, 4 or 5 towns that we played with? Niwot and Hygiene and,
Oh, so you did.
yeah, and Burlington. You didn't play softball?
Oh, we played softball, but not against one another.
Yeah, because, and then on a Friday afternoon, we would be, after lunch, we'd go to these other little towns and then be able to play ball, and we had a good time. And that's the same school that my mom went to, but it was called Risby, and it was a smaller school, and then, and it was just down the lane from where my mom grew up.
Did you have to take your lunch?
Yeah, I was gonna, that was one of my questions about taking
No,
lunch.
there was a hot lunch program probably when I was in 4th grade. Do you remember? Okay, so we had some, yeah, we had hot lunch program, and we had a music teacher that came around, and she traveled out in how many schools in the area and taught us music. And then there was a lady that came around that read Bible stories to us. Do you remember that? Okay, so, and you know, like you were saying, that wouldn't be permissible now.
But I remember having after-school religious programs at the
Grade
schools.
school, grade school?
Yeah.
We never did.
Yeah, we weren't, were you in town then?
This was California, so
Okay.
maybe. Jack, you said you had another story?
Yeah, what was it? I lost it. Oh, I'll think of it, go ahead.
Okay, Tom, did you go to a country school? No? You were a city boy through and through.
City boy.
Ornery city boy.
As an angel.
Yes,
One
I
that
heard
country
some
kids
of
were
those
afraid of.
stories.
That's Jack's story,
I
yeah.
know.
Jack
Okay,
has one.
I got the picture here of the school that I went to, Prairie Rock down in Riley County. And I tell people, there's, you can't all see it, but there's this corner over here on the northwest corner. I tell people I had a lot of seniority in that corner, and I did. for some reason or other, I never could figure out why. I never did anything wrong, but I had to stand in that darn corner once in a while. And the other thing she would do is she'd make you draw a little circle in the blackboard, and you stood there and put your nose in it, and you stayed there until you got, she said, you get out. Now, that'd be something wrong with that now. They wouldn't allow that. That'd be too hard on a kid.
We did have a stool in the corner. There was a stool, I don't think they put a hat on them, you know, like the dunce's cap, but there was a stool and you had to face the corner.
Uh-huh.
With the
Well, teachers were allowed to spank too.
Oh, you bet.
Because I remember some of the boys got spanked. And
Yeah,
I
I
did.
remember that too. But the rest of us.
You went there and do it now.
No.
Well, I got an old school bell, one of those old bells, you know, that they used to ring.
Mm-hmm.
Gilbert's mother gave it to me. I got a dinner bucket too, but I don't have the lid to it.
We were gonna
But
ask
it
her-
sure does make it good for picking cherries. I always
Oh.
pick cherries in that dinner bucket,
Uh-huh.
but I don't have the lid.
Carol syrup used to come in around
Yeah.
about this
That's
side. We
that was
carried
my
out
dinner
lunch in the
bucket.
Carol
Half-
syrup.
Half a gallon bucket, half a gallon syrup.
Uh-huh. We had neighbors that did the same thing. And I remember those kids, I think, oh, I don't think they ever had anything else but peanut butter or jelly sandwiches.
That's
They
what I
never
had.
had anything else but that.
That's what I had probably all 8 years.
I think these kids did too.
Well, and there was one movie that I saw one time where the girl had, instead of butter, she put like lard
Yeah.
on their bread.
Yeah,
And it didn't sound too appealing.
We had a water bucket, everybody had, there was one dipper, everybody drank out of the same bucket, same dipper, no problem. They still died, they still lived.
Just make my.
One of the reasons why I asked about if there were boys or just girls in your class, I did go to a country school for about 2 weeks when we were in transit from Montana to California. And in that class, it would have been my 8th grade year, there was a husband and wife that were the teachers. And they, there were 4 of us girls in the 8th grade. And we would get the giggles so bad. And he was the man teacher. The man taught the upper grades. He could not get us under control to save his soul. But to have, I still remember all the giggles. And I was thinking, that's why I was asking is how they would have kept
Wasn't
it.
really anything too funny either.
Well, when you're 13 years old, everything is funny, or else it's just the end of the world and you've got to cry about it. So we laughed though. I could still remember laughing so hard in those 2 weeks that I was there. But that's my story.
Our teachers a lot of times had, there was, the length of the school was on facing the south, so they always had window boxes of flower or plants. And one of them, I remember, geraniums was in one window box, and she would rotate our seating, and I'm not sure why, to probably keep us out of trouble. But I couldn't wait till I got over there in the back row, the back seat, over by the window box that had the geraniums in it, because I'd keep hitting it like that, because I liked the smell of it. You too? Yeah. And to this day, I can remember that smell. I was just like, whoa. Yeah.
Well, I can remember we had a big sandbox, it was probably as big as these 2 tables put together. They had sand in it, it was on the stands, you know. We used to play in that sandbox a lot.
In this room?
It wasn't in the main room, it was in the room to the side.
Uh-huh.
But the kids played in that sandbox a lot.
Yeah, we have a sandbox in here.
Oh, you do?
that-
Uh-huh.
Around the corner actually that
Is
we
that
used
right?
that was a sandbox.
Uh-huh. Well, ours
One
was a
of the
huge
schools.
one, it was big, but we used to make, you know, just make all kinds of things in there. At least we
Yeah,
thought we
Your
were.
school had a basement in it too.
Yeah, we had a
right?
basement too.
We did.
We had a basement too. A big furnace in the basement. Furnace to stand on when your feet were cold.
And didn't all the schools have Washington and Lincoln
Yes, they
pictures?
did.
Oh, yeah.
Barrett
All of
still
them.
has theirs in their
Have
room.
Oh.
Well, there's a few schools around here that it'd be just like they walked up and walked away. Everything, the flag is
Yeah.
still there, the desks and the chairs and the dishes are still on the shelves.
Had to wind that clock on the Roman numerals all the way around.
In fact, one of them is Hardball, and we do have a book about Hardball in the back, a collection of their stories. And that's over on the side of Waterville. So,
Who had this Hardball book?
and that was from Dorothy Lindquist.
Lindquist, oh, scrapbook type,
Leave it?
yeah.
You're not leaving, right?
Walk out here for a second.
Yeah.
Shall we pass this around or
You
just?
can if you'd like. I'm on the hunt for somebody that was a student at Hardball, and that's Claire Ewing. And I've not had much luck
But he's not living, is he?
No, he passed away about
I was gonna
96.
say, he's gone.
Is Evelyn still, Ruth died, didn't she?
I know he married an
Evelyn
Anderson.
was in Manhattan, the last I heard. Ruth-
Really?
Yeah, and she wasn't well.
This is
Well, I
Connie
don't
Chill.
remember hearing that she passed away, but I think Ruth did, didn't she?
Oh, yeah, Ruth Kappa died, yeah, Ruth died, yeah, Ruth Kappa died. She died last year.
So where's Pleasant Valley?
Pleasant Valley?
We're going out east,
It's out on 36.
7, 9.
I mean, I'm sorry, Highway 9.
That's Pleasant View, isn't it?
Oh, yeah,
Pleasant
you
Valley
did.
is 49.
Pleasant Valley.
I brought an old primer book that was a book before we started into the first grade.
Walnut
And it's
County.
got nursery rhymes in it. It's really it's kind of a neat book.
Ah.
38 Pleasant Valley.
See, it's just all,
Did you see that?
do not cry, little boy, do not cry, little squirrel, do not cry,
Now,
little
did you have
fox.
to pay for your own books back then?
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna say,
yeah,
this looks
yeah.
like Cottage, it is Cottage Hill.
Yeah, this is, you know,
Oh,
Did you see the
Remember
Highway
Cottage Hill
9
School?
sign on the corner there?
you're right.
Straight
Or the
east of
highway
where you
sign?
live.
Ready?
that's,
Or
it's
west, I
west.
mean.
Yeah, that's Cottage Hill. That sure is
That's
Cottage
right.
Hill. That's a good
Oh,
picture.
that's
That is.
That's a darn
Look
good
at those
picture.
cars.
RTD
That's all,
before,
yeah, I did. That's a good picture.
Well, we'll go ahead and finish this then, the tape, and just, next week, next month, what do you want to discuss? I thought it'd be interesting to find out where everybody was born. If you were born at home, where you were born at. I was surprised, on Facebook, we put out who was born, and Gwen Turner was born in California. I didn't realize. Because I knew her family was from here. That brought her back. Gwen Turner?
Oh,
She was a baker. Baker. Gwen Baker.
But the Baker family was from here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bakers.
Yeah, it was Ron, not
But I think a
Ron.
lot of them went out there for work.
Or
yeah.
No,
Carlo Woodville's, yeah.
I got a
The
life
painter.
membership today from Phyllis Baker.
Vic, was it Vic Baker? It was a painter?
Vic,
Vic, that was her dad.
What kinds of things, Nancy, are you looking for your collection, for your displays? Pat?
Well, the dinner buckets for one thing.
Heated. If we lost a day for snow or something, we had to go back to school on Saturday. That sure made a short
Oh.
weekend.
I bet. What about telephones? Would there have been any
Yeah, we had
telephones?
a
didn't have one in
telephone.
ours.
We did, we had
We did.
We did.
We had a
Oh.
cell phone.
one more.
Uh-huh.
When I was about the 5th or 6th grade, the dust storm in Kansas. You remember hearing about them? It got so bad that about 10 o'clock in the morning, she called all the parents and they're gonna she sent the kids home. It just got dark. It was just dark as
I remember those
could
two.
be.
I remember that.
And I remember Dad
The History
coming and
Channel
getting
has
me
an
with the lights on
excellent-
in the car and you couldn't even see
couldn't.
the road. It was terrible.
At home, my mother took wet towels and put it around all the windows, the windows weren't very tight, and it just got black.
Yeah, it was
Sometimes
terrible.
red.
Well, it was gonna say it was ready, it was that Oklahoma soil coming
Oh,
in.
yeah, it was. I can remember we couldn't see west, we couldn't see anything out of the house west.
There was a special, well, there was a special on the History Channel about the dust storm. And one of the guys did a test, and he took a cabin, kind of probably like what we have across the street, and he made just like that dust storm, the length and stuff. And what happened inside the house, because people thought that they were protected inside, and what he overcome, it was unbelievable how he came out of there and he was hacking and coughing and.
I don't know how our animals stood it, but I guess we never lost any with
It was very depressing, I'll tell you.
the dust storm, I don't
It
remember.
was terrible, depression, everything, I remember, it was awful.
I got to wear flour sacks clothes to
Oh,
school.
well, I still got, you won't believe this, but I still got flour sacks.
I did too, I've been using them for dish towels, not just about using them up.
Well, my mom used to make nightgowns, dresses,
Dress-
tablecloths. Sheets.
Plant up here, the
They had
flower.
prints,
Mm-hmm.
different kinds of prints in the sacks. And when Dad went to town, I said, I'll be sure you get at least 2 sacks
Yeah.
alike so I can have a new dress.
You've seen those printed speed sacks, haven't you? Yeah, I'm sure you have.
Did you
I
ever hear
still
about
got, I
Winkler?
think Mom's nightgown.
Well, Winkler is where my grandfather and my father went to school, and I also have a classroom picture of my grandfather. And I think that there's some Blaskys in that picture.
I couldn't tell, I couldn't tell. But they all went to school there.
Yeah, there's a picture of.
I knew your dad, your grandfather, but I didn't know your great grandfather.
Where's Winkler? She wants to know where Winkler is.
Winkler? That's a good question.
Remember the detour, you used to go to Manhattan?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not on this.
No.
Yeah, the detour that you went to, a year or so ago, we went to Manhattan, you had
That was always on the way to Irving. And that was a small, don't you remember that? It was a small schoolhouse. And I think the Peel kids went there. The Peels,
Thanks for coming.
And then I think the Groves went to school there.
That's what I'm trying to think of, Phil Wilson.
Wilson.
It was, you know, Tom Bladgett. Tom
Yeah,
Bladgett.
that was right, in that
Just to the
area.
west of that.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
exactly
I got
right.
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember that one well.
Born.
Yeah, that was District 97. I don't think they had hardly any. We used to have meetings there. We used to go
There
there.
used to be a road that went up northwest and came out, I used to patrol that road in 1951 and 2.
I don't think they had, I can't even remember them having school there, but we used to have meetings there. I can't remember what kind of meetings, but we always went to meetings there.
That's been gone a long, long
Oh,
time.
yeah, but that was a nice school though. It was a nice
I remember
building.
seeing it.
It was a small building, but it was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, but Maxine, that was Wilson School, I was trying to think of that day, west of Tom Blodgett's, where he used to live, about a 3.5 mile
Wilson?
west,
Wilson.
Oh,
on the corner there.
right west of where Tomers lived?
Yeah, in that area, right
That's
over
right.
there.
Somewhere down in there's Poverty Knob too, I don't remember.
Yeah,
Maybe it's on here.
yeah, it's number 77.
Poverty, no,
77.
it's only somewhere.
Poverty Knob, yeah, right here, 137. That was at Summer.
137.
What a name, Poverty Knob. Why was it called that?
Yeah, they did.
Well, because I guess everybody around was poverty. They were
Well, I heard of
Poor people.
poor people.
Okay, that's number 77. So who lived in that area? It's in Blue Rapids Township, not Blue Rapids City.
That's the one, Poverty Knob, yeah, 70. It's out that way somewhere.
137, way up the corner.
Towards Irving or?
Well,
or
Between Irving and Frankfurt, down out in there
77,
somewhere.
Then there used to be a Reeserville schoolhouse
Merrimack
too.
and Merrimack and
Did you see these?
Antioch.
Antioch, yeah.
Hmm.
A lot of those. And Reeserville was down
Yeah, that's
south
right,
east
that's
too.
right. Those were old schools, but
Yeah,
see,
those were-
Antioch was number 7 and Merrimack was,
Yeah, Antioch was one of the
15,
oldest.
huh?
Yeah, they were one of the oldest.
On the way to Marysville, the back way, here's a picture, and it's still standing. It's Blue River number 9.
Never heard of that one.
It'd be on north of where Penix lived. They're on the corner there.
You
Right
go
by
Old
the
River
creek.
Road, you'll
Uh,
see it.
East River Road, yeah.
And there was that one school that's, would have been tucked
Pleasant Ridge?
behind it. And they said that they,
There's just a lot of them.
the lady, all the kids that went to that school were basically their family. There was nobody else that came back to that school. Do you know what the name of that? I don't know the name of the school.
By that one by Penix.
Pleasant Ridge, I think that was.
Gallup School. That's
Yeah,
the
there
one?
was there was a Gallup school.
Yeah.
It's
north-
over by the
You're talking about?
cemetery.
Probably.
Gallup, yes, north of the.
Now, I'll have to
Across the
remember
field.
Evelyn Unger taught out there. Evelyn Unger taught out there at a Gallup school. I have to tell you a story. The Gallup kids went to that school, you know, all 3 of them, and they were ornery. And you remember that story?
I don't know
And
which one.
this Wilcox boy, this Bob Wilcox, he went to school out there
Yeah,
too.
he was-
Anyway.
He was in my class.
One day, why, I guess they felt ornery, so they fed him a lot of chocolate. And he ate chocolate, he really enjoyed it. And the next day, he wasn't in school. And I guess Mr. Wilcox went up there, and I guess he had a talk with Evelyn. And Evelyn knew, she asked the kids who had done it. And of course, she knew who had done it. And so she used to always pick those kids up and bring them to school. So their punishment was that they had to walk to school.
What they fed him wasn't chocolate.
No, it was exercise.
That's right.
They did that to one of the teachers here in town one time too.
Oh, they did.
Instead of chocolate chips.
They made
it
chocolate
was,
chip cookies and put, the girls did that.
Well, I mean, Evelyn and she just laughed and laughed. I think it was Ralph and, it was 2 of them. It must have been Ralph and Calvin. I don't know. Anyway, it was a gal too, probably. Probably they were all wandering. But she said, or laughed about how that was their punishment to walk to school.
Oh, I can't imagine Calvin doing.
Three generations, I never forgot about that.
Well, I was the only one. Now, see, my dad went to Prairie Ridge too.
You lived right east of Prairie Schoolhouse.
Half a mile.
That's where John was born.
I was born there too.
Were you?
Yeah, we were pretty all born at home.
Oh, yeah.
I was born on a Sunday. Dad was at a baseball game.
Born on a Wednesday night during a thunderstorm.
Is that right?
I've heard that so many times.
Oh, it was a dark and stormy night.
No doctor could hardly get out there.